Class is back in session, and it's time for our latest fantasy grade episode on the Locked On Fantasy Hockey Podcast. Who's getting those failing grades? Who's an A-plus student? We'll break it all down and get this paper.
You're Locked On Fantasy Hockey, your daily podcast on fantasy hockey.
Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Happy hump day, my fantasy fanatics, and welcome back inside the lab to your daily 30-minute source for all things fantasy hockey, NHL news, and nightly betting breakdowns. It's the Locked On Fantasy Hockey Podcast, and I'm privileged to be joined by my esteemed co-host, Mr. Steele, Rodin. On this side of the microphone, it's your boy, Big Flip Livingstone, showing love to the everydayers who continue to hold us down and make us their first listen every single day. We see you in the DMs, the comments, on IG, on X, everywhere, and appreciate it so much. I know when I speak for Steele on this one, we could not be doing the pod without you guys, so continue to smash that follow button. Leave us a 5-star review. Check us out on Twitter. Check us out on Instagram, and, of course, on YouTube. Today's episode is brought to you by our friends at FanDuel Sportsbook, where new customers that lay down a $5 wager and win get $300 in bonus bets back. Mr. Rodin, fantasy hockey grades. Yeah, it's kind of a fun thing to throw out, but you need to know how these players are performing. And I've picked a number of kind of good and bad cases. Evan Bouchard, Dustin Wolf, you're looking at Jack Eichel, Sam Reinhart. You need to know what's going on with these players and these teams, and this just serves up another angle. We'll get to tonight's bets. I'm really feeling my picks. We have a special guest on tomorrow's episode as well. Expert from covers.com, Josh English, is going to be here to break down some betting angles. Over to you. I'm done talking. Who are you looking at, and what grade are they getting?
Fantasy player grades. I brought in 4 players, two forwards, 1 defenseman, and 1 goalie. And I got to start with my boy here. I've been on him for the last 3 years now, and I've been talking about him the entire offseason. And this is exactly what I expected out of Jack Eichel. He is playing like the best player in the National Hockey League right now. I'm not going to give him those reins yet because Nathan MacKinnon is right on his tail. Still haven't lost a game in regulation, both the Vegas Golden Knights and Colorado Avalanche. But Jack Eichel, for me, gets an A++. He has been phenomenal offensively and on both ends of the ice, actually. 6 goals, 10 assists for a total 16 points. He's leading the league in points. He's leading the league on shots on net with 34. He's shooting at 17.6% right now. And that's exactly what I was talking about in the offseason was I expect him to be a 100+ point player this season, playing alongside Mitch Marner. I expect him to shoot the puck at will, use his skill set, his ability to maneuver and get around the opposition in the offensive zone, use that weapon of a shot that we know he's capable of doing. He's been a 30-goal scorer twice in the National Hockey League. He's pretty much been an under a point-per-game player or a point-per-game player throughout his entire NHL career. The only downside was he wasn't able to stay healthy. He wasn't able to play even close to a full 82-game regular season up until last year, where he only missed 77 games. So I look at Jack Eichel. He is the best fantasy hockey player right now based on Yahoo rankings and ESPN rankings and all rankings out there because of how he's playing offensively, the peripherals he's adding on top of it. The special teams for Vegas has been really solid as well. You got guys like Avaldor, Fayev, who are lighting the lamp every single night almost, it seems like. But Jack Eichel's a big part of that alongside Mitch Marner. And for me, Jack Eichel gets an A++ grading for the season so far.
I think that's a slam dunk, Steele, and you might as well talk your talk because you've been behind Jack Eichel for time. And what's going on in Vegas now, though, with this Aiden Hill situation? And not to take away from Jack Eichel, I think that's been covered, but I just watched those highlights a few different times. I played goalie for a couple of years, believe it or not, Steele. Big man was between the pipes.
I believe it.
And they haven't speculated at all. But when I look at an injury like that and a lateral move through the crease and how he kind of tightened up, that screams groin. And that is a tough injury to come back from. Even if it's not that, this is a situation you want to keep your eyes on in Vegas, aside from Jack Eichel. So I just wanted to throw out that angle. Akira Schmid's going to be in the cage now, basically full-time. We covered Carter Hart, so I saw you wanted to talk about Jack Eichel. I just wanted to bring in another angle for these Golden Knights because what's cooking right now is Big Jack up front. Take a look at what they've also done, Steele, in terms of winning games. You mentioned Dorofeyev. How can you not get excited once again about what the Vegas Golden Knights are doing? 30 goals for, leads that division, not even close, plus 10 differential. They're getting it done front to back. What does he do now when he clearly needs his team to step up with their number one goalie out? That will be interesting. Dorofeyev looking sexy. Let me start with Juraj Slavkovsky. I didn't know where I wanted to start, but I wanted to continue down this sexy train. This Montreal Canadiens team is looking good, and I know it's early, and you know I like to kind of throw wet rags, damp towels, whatever you want on situations. Juraj Slavkovsky is a power forward that does a little bit of everything good. He was a excellent player on all levels he's ever played at, and one of those included being an MVP and a gold medal winner at the Beijing Olympics. When I know the Olympics is what it is, I'm just trying to show this kid some flowers. 194 hits last year, Steele. He's already got 18. He's got 3 goals. And what you need to be paying attention with Juraj Slavkovsky is his deployment. He's playing with Nick Suzuki and Cole Caulfield on the top line and the top power play unit. That's a full stop, full pause moment that you need to pay attention to. I don't know if you've been seeing also they're even getting quality starts from Dobish in the net. I've picked him up as a little bit of a security blanket in the cage, and it's working out. Pay attention. Get a piece. You know we throw that statement out there a lot. Juraj Slavkovsky, I wanted to give him an A-. He's looking really good. He's filling out peripherals. He gets a B+ because I want him to perform even more so with this opportunity. Ice time is up. His fantasy value is on the rise. This is a player you need to pay attention to. He pops a couple more points here down the next week or two, Steele. This is an easy A. Get a piece of him if you can. You're on mute, brother.
Once again, every single week, I think B+ is the perfect grading for Juraj Slavkovsky right now. I think based on him being on the top line, you would have liked to seen a little bit more production offensively, fantasy-wise. Only 3 goals to show for it this season, 3 points totals. It's the peripherals that are jumping off the page. Like you so eloquently said, over 18 hits, 16 shots. Again, playing on that top line with Cole Caulfield and Nick Suzuki, who already have 10 points and 8 points. You would think he would have a little bit more, but on top of that, he's going to get going soon offensively, and you feel it coming. The energy he brings every single night. The Montreal Canadiens, I believe, on a 4 or 5 game win streak right now. They're absolutely dominating top of the Atlantic Division alongside the Detroit Red Wings right now. So off to a hot start for the Montreal Canadiens. Real quick before we get to break, I just want to just kind of run through what I'm thinking and how I'm feeling about Sam Reinhart right now. And I've been quite disappointed. I think for a guy who we evaluated as a 2nd round draft pick, maybe early 3rd round pick, where you're seeing his average draft position this year. He was drafted 30th overall. So yeah, early 3rd round, but 2 goals, only 3 points to show for it, 17 shots on net, 13 hits. It is tough. Florida is on a 5 game losing streak right now. I believe 5 game losing streak. You just don't quite expect it out of the Florida Panthers. Sorry, 4 game losing streak right now for them, but you don't quite expect it. Brad Marchand is leading them offensively. Sam Reinhart, you would expect a little bit. While the peripherals are solid, shots, blocks, and hits, the offensive just hasn't been quite there. I was actually going to talk about Carter Verhaeghe instead, but both those players just haven't been quite themselves to start off the season. And the lack of Alexander Barkov and Matthew Tkachuk, it's showing right now. And that's what I was hinting at when we did our preseason prediction. Look, yes, I had it being very close. I had the Florida Panthers outside a playoff spot. And I'm not saying they're going to miss it. It's going to be close. But based on how I'm seeing them right now, based on not having Barkov and Tkachuk for at least half the season or the entire season, it's going to damper their ability to win games. And the fact that they're off to this sluggish of a start, it's worrisome for me.
Yeah, and look, They did start, I believe they started 3-0, and now they're kind of falling back
they've
to
lost
earth.
4 in a row.
And I think they still finish somewhere in between here.
Yeah.
However, it's clear when you have such a pivotal piece like Barkov out of the lineup, this is nothing against Sam Bennett or his fantasy value, but it puts strain on the rest of the lineup, and you're already without Matty. So let's get to the rest of these grades after the break. We've got a betting segment that you'll want to tap into today and tomorrow. Special guest from covers.com, Josh Inglis, coming in to talk to us about a whole bunch of different bets. We'll cook up our own. And we got to show some love to our friends at Monarch. Today's episode is brought to you by Monarch. Be honest, most of us can't even name all of our financial accounts, let alone what they're worth. 401ks, savings, investments. It's easy to lose track, and that can mean leaving money on the table. That's why we both started using Monarch, an all-in-one personal finance tool that brings you financial together life in one clean, easy-to-use interface. On your laptop or phone, managing accounts, tracking spending, it gets easier and easier on Monarch. Don't let financial opportunities slip through the cracks. Use code LOCKEDONNHL at monarch.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarch.com, code LOCKEDONNHL for half off your first year. Today's episode is also brought to you by our friends at Rougiette. Let's be real, my friends. Making excuses, I'm looking at you, Steele, doesn't solve anything. We've all heard them before. It's just stress. I'm tired. It happens to everyone when it comes to performance, boys. Sometimes the body needs a little extra boost, and that's where Rougiette comes in. Rougiette.com offers fast-acting, doctor-prescribed treatments for ED designed to help you stop making excuses and start making those power moves, boys. You just got to connect with a board-certified doctor, 100% online, no awkward waiting rooms, no in-person appointments. Visit RUGIET.com/LockedOnNHL to get 15% off your first order. That is RUGIET.com/LockedOnNHL. And don't forget to use the code LockedOnNHL so they know we sent you. Rougiette, stop making excuses and start making those moves.
And thank you so much for making the Locked On Fantasy Hockey Podcast your first listen every single day. Continue to smash that subscribe button, the follow button, leave a 5-star review. Flip real quick. I forgot the grade for Sam Reinhart. I ended up giving him a C-, and I said, the peripherals are good. Overall, the offense just hasn't been there. He's -4 on the season as well. So defensively, he's been a little bit sluggish as well. So I gave Sam Reinhart a C- just because of the slow start offensively. But I'll throw it back over to you. Who are you looking at next, and what grade did you give them?
I think expectations is a really obvious thing that ties to a player in Evan Bouchard that just got paid $10.5 million per year. And we're talking about fantasy grades here as well, Steele. Excuse me. I'm not talking about exactly how he's played on the ice, because I think it would be a for certain F for Evan Bouchard. He's looked really sloppy, a lot of giveaways, bad plays. He's even said himself he needs to tighten it up, Steele. He's got 11 giveaways to 2 takeaways. Yeah. And I know he's firing the biscuit. He's got 21 shots in 6 games. However, -5 and a clear lack of emphasis on like killer instinct, if you will. And those are all intangible.
100%.
However, when you look asleep at the wheel and you're not playing the basic of hockey, playing a defensive-minded brand of hockey in your zone, you're asleep. How are you expected to do your thing at the offensive end when you're not even feeling it on your bread and butter side of the defensive zone? However, what I do need to say is through 6 games, no points, -5. This is a straight up F. And I know everyone is talking about Evan Bouchard and what's going on, kind of ho-hum start from these Edmonton Oilers. I believe they only have 5 points, 2 wins, 3 losses, 5 points, 15 goals. 18 goals against. Evan Bouchard wasn't around much after the mid-second round in our draft, Steele. He was the 3rd or 4th blue liner off most boards. Yep. This is an F. However, if you're thinking about him perhaps turning it around, and you and I are going to have to do some buy low, sell high targets, this might be an opportunity to buy low. He's not going to have 0 points for forever. The Edmonton Oilers, say what you will about them, they're going to score goals. Yes. At some point, the offense is going to wake up. So if we're talking about buy low, Evan Bouchard might catch that look, but right now he's catching an F.
He is catching an F, and in all honesty, he might have the worst decision making possible in the National Hockey League. He cannot commit to a play when he has the puck on his stick, or even if somebody's coming up the ice on him and he's trying to defend. He doesn't know what to do, and the fact that his offensive production is just completely lackluster, there's nothing to show for it. His defensive skills are on full display of how bad he is. With those decision making. So the fact that he's not, producing offensively or contributing somehow, the defensive side of things are on full display, and it is ugly right now. I mean, I'm hoping he gets his first point. He better get his first point last night. We're recording before the Ottawa Senators game, but that's a good game for the Edmonton to get right now, because the Ottawa Senators at the bottom of the barrel. Take the over in that one too. Evan Bouchard, clearly an F here. Over to Moritz Seider for me, a defenseman that I've drafted on a couple of different fantasy teams this year. I gave Moritz Seider a B- into the season. 2 assists, 2 points total, 12 shots, 16 hits to show for it this year. 10 blocks on top of that. He's a +2. He's got 2 penalty minutes. We know he can have that. We know he's the banger league beauty that you want. I kind of compare him to a Mackenzie Weegar, a steady 40, 45 point player throughout the season. He puts up or close to 200 shots, 200 blocks, 200 hits. He's a banger league beauty. But the fact of the matter is, the way the Detroit Red Wings are playing right now, offensively, defensively, they've been one of the best teams in the league. They have the 5th least goals against so far, with only 14 goals against so far this season. Offensively, their top guys in Dylan Larkin. You're getting some. Alex DeBrincat, I don't believe has scored a goal, but he's getting in on those primary and secondary assists. Patrick Kane looks really good. Moritz Seider needs to be the blue liner that they've dreamed of when they drafted him. He just hasn't had that breakout season yet. And the fact that he only has 2 assists to show for it this season is a little bit, sad to see for fantasy owners who drafted him. B- isn't a bad score. I do expect it to increase over time, obviously, when he continues to fill out those peripherals. But I would like to see him really break out offensively and kind of show the league what he's capable of.
This Detroit Red Wings team is obviously they're punching above their weight class here with 10 points and a 5-game win streak to start the year. Something that they've done, Steele, 2 out of the last 3 seasons. They've actually started red hot. They're a shifty team up front. They're fast. They're very talented. They are hard to deal with off the rush, and that generates scoring chances. The back end is another thing, and I understand that they've got, I believe they have the second least goals against in the Eastern Conference. So I'm not trying to poke holes in something that has actually been quite solid, but you know what I'm getting at here. I never had real doubts with the mix of Lucas Raymond, Larkin, DeBrincat. We talked about Marco Kasper. They have a couple of good young players here. It's that back end. Does that sustain? Does the goaltending hold up? And I know Cam Talbot and John Gibson have been good. It's the blue line I'm talking about, exactly what you're highlighting. And Moritz Seider has to be that number 1 guy. Fantasy-wise and on the ice, that's where we separate, because I think he can still serve so much value. He will continue to do so. I love this grade. I feel like it's perfect very, very quickly, because I like this episode. We're going to have to continue to do these. We'll do the start stash cut. We'll do fantasy grades. We'll mix in some guest guys and, of course, Sunday waiver. I'll talk about Morgan Rielly and the Toronto Maple Leafs last, because I've got a lot more to say there. Dustin Wolf has allowed the most goals against this year at 22 goals against.
It's bad.
It's just bad in Calgary. And so let me get this out of the way quickly, because it might be an easy thing to look at those numbers. 8.67 save percentage, 3.91 goals against, and a 1-5-0 record. And if you can't see it, check us out on YouTube. Make sure you don't miss that, Steele. This Calgary Flames team has left him out to dry. And you might look at those numbers and say, F, this is a good goalie on a bad team. Let's get that out of the way right now. He gets a C- from me, because, he could have been better. And a stat that's very much more indicative of how a goaltender is playing is save percentage more than goals against. So the numbers aren't pretty either way you slice it. But the team in front of him has just been poor. And when you look at fantasy value, and that's why I'm separating this, because I still think he does hold a ton of value as a legit number 1 goaltender who, 50-plus starts for sure, locked in as the number 1. They have an ugly goal differential at -15. Yeah. They've allowed the most goals against, obviously, if he has as well, but overall, they're just bad. the Calgary Flames have been off to a bad start. They will improve. Are they a power? Are they a playoff team? I don't know. His value will go up though, and that's why he can't get a lower grade, because he is still a really good goaltender. I think a C- or a C is accurate here. Don't give up on Dustin Wolf. There's not too many other good options out there. It's been a bloodbath already. I'm telling you to hold on this guy. He will still prove value this year.
Second worst goals against average. Only the Ottawa Senators have allowed more goals this season, but they do have the worst goal differential, like you said, at -15. They're just not scoring enough goals. The offensive side of things has just run dry, and we've known that for time now. You kind of want Morgan Frost, you kind of want Joel Farabee to really get going, especially with that that fresh start in Calgary from what they were going through in Philadelphia last year with John Tortorella. They're just not taking that next step. So they got to figure out what to do, and they got to figure it out early because, like you said, they are leaving Dustin Wolf out to dry. He could be a little bit better, but he needs help in front of him. We'll come back after the break. We got 2 more player grades, and then we'll get to big-time bets where you can place those bets. That's FanDuel. The NFL. This episode is also brought to you by FanDuel. The NFL season is here, and FanDuel has an offer you can't miss. Right now, new customers can bet just $5 and get $300 in bonus bets if you win. That's right. Pick a bet, put down $5, and if it hits, you'll unlock $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. Flip and I love using FanDuel every single day. It gives us so many ways to play, building those parlays, trying player props, and even following the live lines during the game. It makes watching football even more exciting when you've got a little something riding on the action. Whether you're a casual fan or love diving into the stats, FanDuel makes the game day experience so much better. So what are you waiting for? Visit FanDuel.com to download the FanDuel app today and get started. Once again, thank you so much for making the Locked On Fantasy Hockey Podcast your first listen every single day. Continue to smash that subscribe button, the follow button, leave a 5-star review. Flip, I'm going to make this one real quick so I can throw it back over to talk about Morgan Rielly. I switched one of these players up. I went from Jeremy Swayman to Jet Greaves because I had to talk about him. 1-2-0 on the season, a .928 save percentage, and a 2.04 goals against average. And obviously, we know he's only had a small sample size from last year to the start of this season. I believe only 10 games in that time. But the fact that he has been able to put up these statistics over the span of the 24 games he has played is absolutely phenomenal. .928 save percentage this season, .938 last year, a .908 the year before that in the 9 games he played, a .939 in the first game he ever played back in 2022. He's legit. And I was looking, he's rostered below 40% on Yahoo right now. This is a goaltender. If he's available, I would jump all over. And even though you have to, and even though, you look at the division right now, the Columbus Blue Jackets are 2-3-0 on the season. Again, they've only played 5 games. The New York Rangers have played 8. So there's still a lot of time for them to climb up. It's still early in the season, of course, but I give Jet Greaves an A minus on the season so far. I know it's a small sample size, but he's been fantastic. Elvis Merzlikins has been really good as well. I know the goals against average is a little bit higher, but the save percentage is around .918. Both goaltenders are playing phenomenal right now for Columbus, and Jet Greaves get an A minus.
We like to throw it out there. Get yourself a piece of Columbus as well. This my betting breakdown you're really gonna like, so I'm gonna make this quick. I don't really like what I'm hearing, reading, or seeing from the Toronto Maple Leafs. What's going on in this locker room with Stolarz calling out Willie, taking kind of some pot shot shrapnel flying in Matthews' direction, talking about guys who have been here a while. Look, I don't mind it, but we've already known in these guys' career, they don't really respond well to the call-outs. And I know it's early, and look, if anyone gets to get overly heated about Toronto Maple Leafs early, it's me. So everybody take it easy. However, Morgan Rielly has been I don't want to say lone bright spot because I'm not going to try and be too doom and gloom here. They still are sitting fairly pretty in the Atlantic Division with 7 points, but Morgan Rielly has been a bright spot. He dropped a bunch of weight. He's looked a lot better on the ice, and here's the main takeaway. This front office has done a really good job at recognizing what they had in Morgan Rielly, what they were committed to him contract-wise, and what they need to do to insulate this player. And I'm not saying all of the blue line moves were made to make Morgan Rielly feel good. However, when you bring in Carlo, Tanev, McCabe, Ekman Larson, he doesn't even need to be the second or third best defenseman on the ice. He can just do his thing, and we've always known. When you look at numbers in the past, 68 points from Morgan Rielly, 72 points from Morgan Rielly. He's offensively minded. We've been saying for years in Toronto, poor defensive play, this and that. This guy in junior was a power play quarterback. So now he can really do his thing offensively. 2 goals, 4 assists for 6 points, 19 shots on net, 5 blocks, 5 hits, ice time. Steady as she goes from last year, a really good sign. You know how I feel about ice time. This is an easy B+, but I went with A- because ain't nobody was expecting this fantasy-wise. I know I'm hearing it already from the Montreal Canadiens fans. You, of course, gave Morgan Rielly an A-. These are fantasy grades. This is a defenseman. He gets a better grade on being better so far and more valuable than Juraj Slavkovsky's 3 goals. He gets an A-. If you drafted Morgan Rielly later in drafts, because he for sure fell down the board, this is a juicy little ad that you're probably happy that you took on.
He's been great this year. I love the fact that he's really using his legs to join the rush and get up there and be that offensive-minded defenseman that we saw him early in his career. You know, I believe last year the Toronto Maple Leafs were either the worst or one of the worst teams in the league for goals from defensemen. And so far, you've got a goal from McCabe, Oliver Ekman-Larsson, Morgan Rielly's got 2. So you really like to see those defensemen get active, join the rush, and just give the offense some opportunity for some different outlets in the offensive zone. So Morgan Rielly's been great so far this season. Let's get over to big time bets and wrap up this episode with a nice little bow. 3 games on the schedule for Wednesday. I don't know about you, but I wasn't too hot about these games. Mini versus Wild versus the Devils, Red Wings versus Sabres, Canadians versus Flames. I don't know about you, but I just wasn't feeling too great about these matchups. So somehow I still ended up with 3 bets that are decent odds. First bet, Tage Thompson anytime goal. I'm going back to the well here. That hasn't hit for me yet, but I feel in a game that is between the Red Wings and Sabres that always seems to go over the number. I expect there to be a lot of goals, and I think Tage Thompson will be one of them. So Tage Thompson anytime goal at plus 135. Like I just mentioned, I'm going to take the over 6.5 at plus 114 right now. I think that's a lock in itself. 7 of the last 10 games between these two teams have gone over 6.5. And I'm talking about well over 6.5. We're talking about 10, 11, 12 goals in the game sometimes between these two squads. So I like the Tage Thompson anytime goal. I like the over 6.5 in Sabres versus Red Wings at plus 114. And then just to finish it up, Wild on the money line versus the Devils at plus 110. They haven't fared too well over the last 4 games they played against New Jersey. The 4 games prior to that, they won. I just like them in this situation. I know they've been on the road for quite some time, but it is the second game of a back-to-back for the New Jersey Devils in this situation. I'm comfortable enough taking the Wild at plus 110 on the road. So those are my 3 picks. Lock of the night, the over 6.5 in that Sabres-Red Wings game.
I know for a fact you're going to like my lock of the night, so we'll get it out of the way right now. How about a little Matt Boldy player prop? 4+ shots on net for Matt Boldy is my lock of the night. 4 goals, 6 assists for Matt Boldy to start this year off. And I wanted to bring this up. My tabs are failing me here because I did dig into this in his career, Steele. 5 career regular season games against the Devils. The Devils are on the back-to-back of the second half of a back-to-back here. I really like Matt Boldy here. 4+ shots on net in his career in 5 career regular season games. He against the New Jersey Devils, he has 5 points in those 5 games. He has nearly 30 shots in those games. Hit me with Matt Boldy. 4+ shots on net. Just to run that back, 4 games ago, he had 10 shots on net against the Dallas Stars. Then 2, 2, and 4. So you're going to get a really good odd here for 4 shots on net for Boldy. That's my lock of the night. I think Minnie's in a great spot here as well. I also got to ride with the hot hand in the Detroit Red Wings against Buffalo. I know Patty Kane is out. I know that Buffalo they were raked over the coals, right? We had jerseys on the ice. We had media calling them out, all of that. So I expected a bounce back. Yeah, they beat Florida 3-0 over the weekend. Florida's not playing good hockey. Enough said. Last 10, sorry. 6-3-1 for the Red Wings. Now I promise I'll wrap it up. How's that prediction of Cole Caulfield being a 40-goal scorer every year looking, Steele? Not
It's looking
too bad.
good now.
How about Cole Caulfield? 4+ shots on net for another shot prop. Back-to-back games, he's only fired 1 shot on net, and I know that cooked you. I'm pretty sure you talked about shot totals for Cole Caulfield, and I'm not trying to rub it in here. This guy's a shooter, and shooters shoot. Especially in this situation, I really do like the Montreal Canadiens. I would lean to them on the money line as well for obvious reasons. Excuse me, but the Calgary Flames are going to win a game at some point. They've been giving up a lot of shots. Cole Caulfield, 4+ shots on net. Boldy, lock of the night, 4+ shots on net. And for the juice, hit me with the Red Wings on the money line in Buffalo.
I'm absolutely loving that Boldy 4+ shot player
Thank
prop
you.
there. That's definitely getting added into the parlay. Those are the big time bets
Appreciate that.
and the lock of the night from Flip Livingstone and Steele Rodin. Thank you so much for making the Locked On Fantasy Hockey Podcast your first listen every single day. For your second listen, you got to go check out the Locked On NHL Game Night. Every game, every night until a Stanley Cup champion is crowned. Get local analysis on a national scale. Find NHL Game Night on Locked On NHL on YouTube or wherever you listen to your podcast. And we'll see you back here again tomorrow.
Go Jays, go, baby.